Conversation 1. Public transportation.
Listen and practice.
The bus is running late again today.
Really? How often does this happen?
It's been occurring more frequently lately.
Have you considered taking the subway instead?
I have, but it's a longer walk from my house.
What about carpooling with colleagues?
That's an interesting idea. I'll look into it.
Great! Let me know if you need any help organizing it.
Conversation 2. Online learning.
Listen and practice.
I've just enrolled in an online course to improve my coding skills.
That's great. Which platform are you using?
I'm using Coursera. Have you tried any online courses?
Yes, I took a photography course on Udemy last year.
How did you stay motivated throughout the course?
I set small, achievable goals for each week.
That sounds like a good strategy. I'll try that.
Let me know how it works out for you.
Conversation 3. Energy conservation.
Listen and practice.
How do you save energy at home, Robert?
I've switched to LED bulbs and use a programmable thermostat.
Those are great starts. Have you considered solar panels?
I have, but the initial cost is quite high.
True, but they can save money in the long run.
How long does it typically take to see a return on investment?
It varies, but often between 5 to 10 years.
That's not bad. I'll look into it more seriously.
Conversation 4. House hunting.
Listen and practice.
House hunting can be so stressful.
True. What's your must-have feature in a new home?
I'd love a home office space. How about you?
A modern kitchen is important to me. Are you looking at houses or apartments?
I'm open to both, but leaning towards houses for more space.
Have you considered the commute from potential areas?
Not yet. That's a good point to factor in.
It can make a big difference in your daily life. Don't forget to check it.
Conversation 5. New neighborhood.
Listen and practice.
I just moved to a new neighborhood last week.
How exciting! Have you explored the area yet?
A little bit. I found a nice coffee shop nearby.
That's a good start. Have you met any of your neighbors?
Not yet. I'm a bit shy about introducing myself.
Maybe you could bring them some baked goods as an icebreaker?
That's a great idea. I do enjoy baking.
It's a nice gesture and a good way to start building community.
Conversation 6. Game night.
Listen and practice.
Do you ever host game nights with your friends?
Yes, we try to have one every month. It's always fun.
That sounds great. What games do you usually play?
We enjoy board games like Catan and card games like Uno.
Nice choices. How many people usually attend?
Usually around 6 to 8 people. It's a good size for most games.
Do you provide snacks, or is it potluck style?
We usually do potluck. It takes the pressure off the host.
Conversation 7. Alternative medicine.
Listen and practice.
What's your opinion on alternative medicine?
I'm open to it, but I prefer to combine it with conventional medicine.
That seems like a balanced approach. Have you tried any alternative therapies?
I've done acupuncture for back pain. How about you?
I've used essential oils for stress relief. Did the acupuncture help?
It did. Actually, I was surprised by how effective it was.
That's interesting. Would you recommend it to others?
Yes, but I'd suggest consulting a doctor first, just to be safe.
Conversation 8. Nutritional supplements.
Listen and practice.
Do you take any nutritional supplements?
I take a daily multivitamin and fish oil. How about you?
I've been thinking about starting. Did you consult a doctor first?
I did. It's always good to get professional advice.
That makes sense. Have you noticed any benefits?
I feel it's improved my overall energy levels.
That's encouraging. Any advice for someone starting out?
Start slow and pay attention to how your body reacts.
Conversation 9. Cleaning hacks.
Listen and practice.
Cleaning hacks can be real time savers for household chores.
They really can make a difference. Any favorite cleaning shortcuts?
Using a squeegee on carpets to remove pet hair works surprisingly well. What about you?
Vinegar and baking soda have become go-to solutions for many cleaning tasks. Any eco-friendly cleaning tips?
Making DIY all-purpose cleaner with citrus peels and vinegar is effective and smells great.
That sounds like a great alternative to harsh chemicals. How do you tackle tough stains?
A paste made from hydrogen peroxide and baking soda works wonders on many surfaces.
These are all great ideas. We should compile our favorite hacks into a household guide.
Conversation 10. Bike commuting.
Listen and practice.
Bike commuting has been gaining popularity in our city.
It's a great way to stay active and reduce carbon footprint. Have you tried it?
A few times a week now. The dedicated bike lanes have made it much safer. What's holding you back?
The idea of arriving at work sweaty is a concern. How do you manage that?
Many workplaces now offer shower facilities. Alternatively, electric bikes can help with longer commutes.
That's good to know. What about bicycle storage and security?
A good quality lock is essential. Some offices also provide secure bike storage.
It sounds like the benefits could outweigh the challenges. Maybe we should give it a try together.
Conversation 11. Laundry tips.
Listen and practice.
Laundry is one of those never-ending household tasks.
It certainly feels that way sometimes. Any tricks for making it more manageable?
Sorting clothes as they go into the hamper saves time on laundry day. How about you?
Using mesh bags for delicates has prevented many laundry disasters. Any tips for stubborn stains?
Pre-treating stains with a mixture of dish soap and hydrogen peroxide often does the trick.
That's good to know. How do you keep clothes smelling fresh?
Adding a few drops of essential oil to wool dryer balls works wonders.
These are all great tips. Laundry might become less of a chore with these tricks.
Conversation 12. Sleep hygiene.
Listen and practice.
I've been having trouble sleeping lately. Any tips?
Good sleep hygiene can help. Do you have a consistent bedtime routine?
Not really. I usually just watch TV until I'm tired.
Try to establish a routine. Maybe read a book instead of watching TV.
That's a good idea. What about during the day?
Avoid caffeine in the afternoon and try to get some exercise.
I'll give that a try. How many hours of sleep do you aim for?
I try to get 7 to 8 hours. It makes a big difference in how I feel.
Conversation 13. Time management.
Listen and practice.
How do you manage your time effectively?
I use the Pomodoro technique. Have you heard of it?
I've heard the name, but I'm not sure what it involves.
You work for 25 minutes, then take a 5-minute break.
That sounds interesting. How many cycles do you usually do?
I usually do 4 cycles, then take a longer break.
Does it help with your productivity?
Definitely. It helps me stay focused and avoid burnout.
Conversation 14. Smart home devices.
Listen and practice.
My smart speaker has been really useful lately,
What do you mainly use it for?
mostly for setting reminders and controlling lights.
Have you connected it to any other smart devices?
Not yet. What would you recommend?
A smart thermostat can be really energy efficient.
That sounds useful. Is it difficult to install?
It's fairly straightforward, but you can always get professional help.
Conversation 15. Cybersecurity.
Listen and practice.
Cybersecurity is becoming increasingly important these days.
Absolutely. What measures do you take to protect your data?
I use a password manager and two-factor authentication.
Those are good practices. Do you also use a VPN?
Not consistently. Is it really necessary?
It can be crucial, especially on public Wi-Fi networks.
I see. Any recommendations for a reliable VPN service?
There are several good options. I can send you a comparison later.
Conversation 16. Grocery shopping.
Listen and practice.
Do you prefer shopping at large supermarkets or local markets?
I usually go to the local farmers market.
What's your favorite thing about shopping there?
The fresh produce and supporting local businesses. How about you?
I like the convenience of supermarkets.
Have you tried online grocery shopping?
Not yet, but I'm curious about it.
I can show you how to get started sometime if you'd like.
Conversation 17. Home office setup.
Listen and practice.
I'm struggling to find the right desk for my home office.
What kind of desk are you looking for?
Something spacious, with good storage options.
Have you considered a standing desk?
That's an interesting idea. Are they comfortable?
Many people find them beneficial for posture and productivity.
How much do they typically cost?
They vary, but I can share some affordable options I've found.
Conversation 18. Virtual meetings.
Listen and practice.
Virtual meetings have become such a regular part of our lives.
True, but do you find them as effective as in-person meetings?
They have their advantages, like saving commute time.
What's your biggest challenge with virtual meetings?
Sometimes it's hard to stay focused and engaged.
Have you tried using interactive features like polls or breakout rooms?
Not really. I'm not very tech savvy.
I'd be happy to show you how to use some of these features.
Conversation 19. Freelance work.
Listen and practice.
Freelancing can be quite challenging at times.
What's the biggest challenge you face as a freelancer?
Finding a steady stream of clients can be difficult.
Have you tried using freelancing platforms?
Yes, but the competition is fierce.
What about networking events or online communities in your field?
I haven't explored those options much.
I can recommend some good networking groups in your industry.
Conversation 20. Remote team management.
Listen and practice.
Managing a remote team requires a different set of skills.
What's the most important skill for remote team management in your opinion?
I'd say clear communication is crucial.
How do you ensure effective communication with your team?
We use various tools like Slack and Trello.
Do you also have regular video meetings?
Yes, we have weekly team check-ins.
That's a good practice. Consider adding some virtual team building activities too.
Conversation 21. Digital marketing.
Listen and practice.
Digital marketing trends seem to change so rapidly.
It's true. Keeping up can be challenging. How do you stay updated?
I follow several marketing blogs and podcasts.
Have you attended any online marketing conferences recently?
Not recently. Are there any you'd recommend?
The Content Marketing World Conference is quite popular.
That sounds interesting. When is it held?
It's usually in September. We should consider attending together.
Conversation 22. Sustainable living.
Listen and practice.
I'm trying to adopt more sustainable living practices.
That's admirable. What changes have you made so far?
I've started composting and using reusable shopping bags.
Have you considered reducing your energy consumption at home?
I haven't focused on that yet. Any suggestions?
LED bulbs and smart thermostats can make a big difference.
Those sound like good starting points. I'll try them.
Great. Let's compare our energy bills after implementing these changes.
Conversation 23. Recycling habits.
Listen and practice.
Proper recycling can be more complicated than people think.
You're right. What's the most confusing aspect for you?
I'm never sure about which plastics can be recycled.
Have you checked your local recycling guidelines?
Not recently. I should probably do that.
Many areas have apps or websites with detailed information.
That would be helpful. I'll look into it.
Good idea. Let me know if you need help finding the right resources.
Conversation 24. Password management.
Listen and practice.
Do you struggle to remember all your passwords, Grace?
I used to, but now I use a password manager.
That sounds helpful. Which one do you use?
I use LastPass. Have you tried any password managers?
Not yet. I'm a bit worried about security.
Most reputable ones use strong encryption.
That's good to know. How do you remember the master password?
I use a long passphrase that's meaningful to me, but hard for others to guess.
Conversation 25. Cloud storage.
Listen and practice.
I'm running out of storage space on my computer.
Have you considered using cloud storage?
I have, but I'm not sure which service to choose.
What are your main needs? Large capacity or frequent syncing?
Probably a balance of both. Any recommendations?
Google Drive and Dropbox are popular choices.
How do their prices compare?
They're similar, but Google often offers more storage for the same price.
Conversation 26. Work-life balance.
Listen and practice.
Maintaining a good work-life balance can be challenging.
True. How do you manage it, especially with remote work?
I set strict working hours and take regular breaks.
That's smart. Do you have a dedicated workspace at home?
Yes, it helps me mentally separate work and personal time.
Have you tried any mindfulness or meditation apps?
Not yet, but I'm curious. Do you use any?
Yes. I find Headspace really helpful for decompressing after work.
Conversation 27. App recommendations.
Listen and practice.
What's your most used app these days?
Probably Spotify. I listen to music all day while working.
Nice. Have you tried any productivity apps recently?
Yes, I've been using Notion for project management.
I've heard good things about it. Is there a learning curve?
A bit, but their tutorials are really helpful.
Sounds interesting. Maybe I'll give it a try.
Let me know if you need any tips getting started.
Conversation 28. Podcast discussions.
Listen and practice.
Have you been listening to any good podcasts lately?
Yes, I've been enjoying Ologies. It's about different scientific fields.
That sounds interesting. What's your favorite episode so far?
The one about ludology, the study of games. How about you?
I like How I Built This for Entrepreneurship Stories.
Oh, I've heard of that one. Any favorite episodes?
The one with the founder of Airbnb was fascinating.
I'll have to check that out. Thanks for the recommendation.
Conversation 29. Audiobook preferences.
Listen and practice.
Do you prefer audiobooks or physical books, Robert?
I enjoy both, but audiobooks are great for multitasking.
True. Do you have a favorite audiobook narrator?
Neil Gaiman narrating his own works is fantastic. You?
I love Stephen Fry's narrations. Have you tried any audio dramas?
Not yet. Are they very different from regular audiobooks?
Yes, they often have full casts and sound effects.
That sounds immersive. I'll have to try one soon.
Conversation 30. E-reader versus physical books.
Listen and practice.
I'm thinking of buying an e-reader. Do you use one?
Yes, I love my Kindle. It's so convenient for traveling.
That's a good point. Do you miss the feel of physical books?
Sometimes, but the pros outweigh the cons for me.
What about eye strain? Is that an issue?
Not with e-ink displays. They're very easy on the eyes.
That's good to know. Any downsides to e-readers?
Battery life can be an issue on long trips, but it's manageable.
Conversation 31. Social media etiquette.
Listen and practice.
Do you think there are unwritten rules for social media?
Definitely. For example, not oversharing personal information.
That's a good one. What about posting frequency?
I try not to post more than once or twice a day.
That seems reasonable. How do you handle negative comments?
I usually ignore them, but if it's constructive, I might respond.
That's a mature approach. Any advice on managing privacy settings?
Regularly review and update them, especially after platform updates.
Conversation 32. Moving to a new city.
Listen and practice.
I'm considering moving to a new city for work.
That's a big step. Have you visited the city before?
Yes, but only for a short trip. I'm a bit nervous about the change.
What's your biggest concern about the move?
Probably finding a new social circle and settling in.
Have you thought about joining local clubs or groups?
That's a good idea. Do you have any experience with that?
Yes. I joined a running club when I moved here. It really helped.
Conversation 33. Mindfulness practices.
Listen and practice.
Have you tried any mindfulness practices recently?
I've been doing some guided meditations before bed.
That sounds relaxing. How long have you been doing it?
About a month now. I find it helps me sleep better.
That's great. Have you noticed any other benefits?
I feel less stressed during the day. Have you tried any mindfulness apps?
Not yet, but I'm interested. Any recommendations?
Headspace and Calm are both popular and user-friendly.
Conversation 34. Insurance policies.
Listen and practice.
What types of insurance do you think are essential?
I believe health, auto, and renters/homeowners are must-haves. You?
I agree. What are your thoughts on life insurance?
It depends on your situation. Do you have dependents?
Not yet, but I'm considering it for the future.
It's good to plan ahead. Have you looked into disability insurance?
No. Is that something separate from health insurance?
Yes, it replaces income if you're unable to work due to illness or injury.
Conversation 35. Identity theft prevention.
Listen and practice.
How do you protect yourself from identity theft?
I use strong, unique passwords for all my accounts. What about you?
I do that too. Have you ever used a credit freeze?
Yes, especially when I'm not planning to apply for credit. Do you shred important documents?
I should do that more consistently. Any other tips?
Be cautious about sharing personal information online and check your credit report regularly.
Those are good reminders. What about public Wi-Fi?
I always use a VPN when connecting to public Wi-Fi networks.
Conversation 36. Online shopping.
Listen and practice.
Do you prefer online shopping or going to physical stores?
I love the convenience of online shopping. How about you?
I like both, but I worry about security when shopping online. Any tips?
Use reputable sites and check for the padlock symbol in the address bar. Do you compare prices?
Sometimes, but it can be time-consuming. Is there an easier way?
There are browser extensions that can automatically find and apply coupons.
That sounds useful. What about return policies?
Always check the return policy before buying. Some online stores offer free returns.
Conversation 37.
Consumer rights.
Listen and practice.
Are you familiar with your consumer rights?
I know the basics, like the right to return faulty goods. What about you?
I'm not very confident about my rights. Where can I learn more?
Government websites often have good resources. Have you ever had to file a complaint?
Once, but I wasn't sure of the process. What's the best way to do it?
Start with the company's customer service, then escalate to consumer protection agencies if needed.
That's helpful. What about warranties?
Always keep your receipts and understand the warranty terms before purchasing.
Conversation 38. Product reviews.
Listen and practice.
Do you usually read product reviews before making a purchase?
Always. They've saved me from some bad purchases. How about you?
I do, but sometimes I find them overwhelming. How do you sort through them?
I focus on the mid-range reviews for balanced opinions. Do you write reviews yourself?
Not usually. Do you think it's important?
It can be helpful for others. I try to write them for products I really love or have issues with.
That's a good approach. How do you spot fake reviews?
Look for verified purchases and be wary of overly positive or negative reviews with little detail.
Conversation 39. Warranty claims.
Listen and practice.
Have you ever had to make a warranty claim?
Yes, for a laptop last year. It was a bit of a hassle. What about you?
Not yet, but I'm curious about the process. Was it successful?
Eventually, yes. Documentation is key. Do you usually buy extended warranties?
I'm never sure if they're worth it. What do you think?
It depends on the product. For expensive electronics, it can be worth considering.
That makes sense. How long do most warranties last?
It varies, but typically 1 year for electronics. Always check before buying.
Conversation 40. Customer service experiences.
Listen and practice.
What's your best customer service experience?
A hotel upgraded my room for free when they overbooked. How about you?
An online retailer sent me a replacement product, no questions asked. What makes good customer service to you?
Empathy and efficient problem solving. How do you handle poor service?
I try to remain calm, but firm. Have you ever written a formal complaint?
Yes, I find it's more effective than just venting on social media.
Good point. How do you give positive feedback?
I try to mention specific employees by name when they've been helpful.
Conversation 41. Loyalty programs.
Listen and practice.
Are you a member of any loyalty programs?
Yes, I use airline and hotel programs a lot. Which ones do you find most valuable?
I like my local grocery stores program. Are airline miles worth it?
They could be if you travel frequently. Have you ever redeemed points for a free flight?
Not yet. Is it difficult to do?
It can be, especially for popular routes. Flexibility is key.
I see. Any tips for maximizing loyalty program benefits?
Look for credit cards that earn extra points and always check for special promotions.
Conversation 42. Frequent flyer miles.
Listen and practice.
How do you usually earn your frequent flyer miles?
Mostly through credit card spending and actual flights. What about you?
I haven't really focused on earning miles. Is it worth the effort?
It could be if you travel a lot. Have you considered a travel rewards credit card?
I've seen ads for those. Are they better than cashback cards?
It depends on your spending habits and travel goals. Do you have a preferred airline?
Not really. Does that matter for earning miles?
It can help you accumulate miles faster if you focus on one airline alliance.
Conversation 43. Hotel amenities.
Listen and practice.
What hotel amenities do you value most?
A good gym and free breakfast are my top priorities. How about you?
I really appreciate hotels with nice pools. Do you ever use room service?
Rarely, it's usually overpriced. What do you think about hotel restaurants?
Some are great, but I usually prefer exploring local places. Any amenities you think are overrated?
I find I rarely use the in-room minibar. How about you?
Same here. I do appreciate when hotels offer free airport shuttles, though.
That's a great point. It can save a lot on transportation costs.
Conversation 44. Vacation rentals.
Listen and practice.
Have you ever stayed in a vacation rental instead of a hotel?
Yes, I love the extra space and home-like feel. What has been your experience?
I haven't tried it yet. I'm worried about the reliability. Any tips?
Read reviews carefully and communicate clearly with the host. Have you used platforms like Airbnb?
Not yet. Are they easy to use?
Generally, yes, but always check the cancellation policy.
Good to know. What do you like most about vacation rentals?
The ability to live like a local and the option to cook meals saves money.
Conversation 45. Solo travel.
Listen and practice.
Have you ever traveled solo?
Yes, I find it very liberating. Have you given it a try?
Not yet, but I'm considering it. What do you enjoy most about it?
The freedom to set my own schedule and meet new people. Any concerns about solo travel?
Safety is my main worry. How do you handle that?
Research destinations thoroughly and trust your instincts. Do you think solo travel is more expensive?
It can be without someone to split costs. Any tips for saving money?
Look for hostels with private rooms or consider homestays to save on accommodation.
Conversation 46. Group tours.
Listen and practice.
What do you think about group tours?
They can be a great way to see a lot in a short time. Have you been on any?
Not yet, but I'm considering one for my next trip. What are the pros and cons?
Pros include efficiency and built-in companions. Cons can be lack of flexibility.
That makes sense. How do you choose a good tour company?
I look for small group sizes and itineraries that allow some free time.
Good tips. Are group tours suitable for all destinations?
They work well for more challenging destinations, but may feel restrictive in easy-to-navigate places.
Conversation 47. Online shopping.
Listen and practice.
Do you do most of your shopping online now?
Increasingly, yes, especially since the pandemic. How about you?
I still prefer in-store for some things. What do you like about online shopping?
The convenience and ability to easily compare prices. Any downsides you've experienced?
Sometimes sizes are inconsistent, especially with clothing. How do you deal with that?
I always check the size charts and read reviews about fit.
Good idea. What about the environmental impact of deliveries?
I try to consolidate orders and choose slower shipping options when possible.
Conversation 48. Winter sports.
Listen and practice.
Do you enjoy any winter sports?
I love skiing. Have you tried any winter activities?
I've been wanting to try snowboarding. Is it difficult to learn?
It can be challenging at first, but very rewarding. Have you considered taking lessons?
That's probably a good idea. What gear do I need to start?
Rental shops usually provide everything, but warm, waterproof clothing is essential.
Makes sense. What's your favorite ski resort?
I love Whistler in Canada. The scenery is breathtaking and the runs are diverse.
Conversation 49. Water activities.
Listen and practice.
What's your favorite water activity?
I really enjoy kayaking. Have you tried it?
Not yet, but it looks fun. Is it difficult for beginners?
It's pretty easy to start. Many places offer guided tours. Do you swim often?
I'm not a strong swimmer, which makes me nervous about water activities.
There are many options that don't require strong swimming skills. Have you considered paddleboarding?
That could be a good starting point. Is it stable?
It's quite stable, especially on calm waters. It's great for core strength too.
Conversation 50. Fitness classes.
Listen and practice.
Have you tried any interesting fitness classes recently?
I've been enjoying HIIT classes. What about you?
I'm curious about yoga, but haven't tried it yet. Is HIIT suitable for beginners?
There are beginner-friendly HIIT classes. Have you considered starting with a gentle yoga class?
That's a good idea. What are the benefits of yoga?
Improve flexibility, strength, and stress relief. Do you prefer group classes or individual workouts?
I like the energy of group classes. How often do you attend fitness classes?
I aim for 2 to 3 times a week, balancing it with other activities.
Conversation 51. Home workouts.
Listen and practice.
How do you stay motivated for home workouts?
I follow online fitness videos to keep it interesting. What's your approach?
I struggle with consistency at home. Any tips for creating a routine?
Set a specific time each day and prepare your workout space in advance. Do you use any equipment?
Just a yoga mat so far. What do you recommend?
Resistance bands are versatile and don't take up much space. Have you tried any fitness apps?
Not yet. Are there any you'd recommend?
Yes, the Nike Training Club app has a variety of workouts for all levels.
Conversation 52. Exploring local cuisine.
Listen and practice.
Our city has such a diverse food scene.
It really does. Have you tried any new restaurants lately?
I recently discovered a great Ethiopian place downtown. Have you ever had Ethiopian food?
Not yet, but I've always been curious. What dishes would you recommend?
The vegetarian platter is a great way to try a variety of flavors. Want to go there this weekend?
Sounds great. Do you know of any other unique cuisines in our area?
There's a new Peruvian-Japanese fusion place that's supposed to be amazing.
That's an interesting combination. We should make a list of all the cuisines we want to try.
Conversation 53. Meal prep ideas.
Listen and practice.
Do you do any meal prepping?
Yes, I prep lunches for the work week. How about you?
I'd like to start. What are some easy meals to prep?
Grain bowls with roasted vegetables are simple and versatile. Do you prep breakfast too?
Not usually. Is it worth doing?
Definitely. Overnight oats or egg muffins are great make-ahead breakfasts.
Those sound doable. How do you keep prep meals fresh?
I use glass containers and sometimes freeze portions for later in the week.
Conversation 54. Dietary restrictions.
Listen and practice.
Do you have any dietary restrictions?
I'm lactose intolerant. How about you?
I'm trying to eat less meat. How do you handle eating out with restrictions?
I always check menus in advance and don't hesitate to ask about ingredients. Have you tried any dairy alternatives?
I like almond milk. Any other suggestions?
Oat milk is great for coffee, and nutritional yeast adds a cheesy flavor to dishes.
Interesting. How do you ensure you get enough protein with less meat?
I incorporate more beans, lentils, and tofu into my meals. Quinoa is also a complete protein.
Conversation 55. Food allergies.
Listen and practice.
How do you manage eating out with food allergies?
I always inform the server about my allergies. Do you have any food allergies?
No, but I have friends who do. Any tips for hosting someone with allergies?
Ask about their allergies in advance and be careful about cross-contamination.
That's thoughtful. Are food allergy tests reliable?
They can be helpful, but it's best to consult with an allergist for a proper diagnosis.
Good to know. How do you handle traveling with food allergies?
I learn key phrases in the local language and bring translation cards explaining my allergies.
Conversation 56. Wine tasting.
Listen and practice.
Have you ever been to a wine tasting?
Yes, I enjoy them. Have you had the chance to try one?
Not yet, but I'm interested. What should I expect at my first tasting?
They usually provide a variety of wines to sample and explain each one. Any favorite wine regions?
I like California wines.
How about you?
I'm fond of French wines, especially from Bordeaux. Do you have a preferred type of wine?
I usually go for red wines. Any tips for pairing wine with food?
Generally, try to match the wine's intensity with the dish. Light wines for lighter foods, bold wines for richer dishes.
Conversation 57. Craft beer.
Listen and practice.
The craft beer scene has really exploded in recent years.
It's amazing how many choices we have now. Do you have a favorite style?
IPAs have become my go-to. The hoppy flavor is fantastic.
Those can be quite strong. Have you visited any local breweries?
There's a great one downtown that does amazing seasonal brews.
Seasonal brews can be really creative. What's the most unique beer you've encountered?
Last winter, they had a chocolate stout that was surprisingly delicious.
That sounds intriguing. We should check out that brewery sometime.
Conversation 58. Cocktail mixing.
Listen and practice.
Cocktail making has become quite the trend lately.
It's a fun skill to develop. What's your go-to cocktail to make?
An old-fashioned is always a classic choice. It's simple but requires some technique.
True, it's all about the balance. Do you use any special tools?
A good shaker and strainer make a big difference in the final product.
Definitely. Have you ever tried infusing your own spirits?
The idea is intriguing, but it seems complicated. Any suggestions for beginners?
Fruit-infused vodkas are a great starting point. Strawberry or lemon can be quite refreshing.
Conversation 59. Coffee brewing methods.
Listen and practice.
French press coffee has such a rich flavor profile.
It really does produce a full-bodied cup. How long have you been using one?
Only a few weeks, but the difference from my old drip machine is night and day.
It's quite noticeable. Have you explored any other brewing methods?
Pour-over coffee has piqued my curiosity. Do you have any experience with it?
Pour-over gives a very clean, bright flavor. It takes a bit more effort, though.
The extra effort might be worth it for a great cup. Any tips for newcomers?
The right grind size and water temperature are crucial. They make a huge difference in taste.
Conversation 60. Tea varieties.
Listen and practice.
The world of tea is so vast beyond just basic black tea.
It really is. There are so many wonderful varieties to explore. What have you tried recently?
Green teas have been a revelation. Their flavor is so different from black tea.
Green tea is a great starting point. Have you ventured into oolongs or white teas yet?
Those are still uncharted territory. Are they very different from green tea?
Each has its own unique profile. Oolong, in particular, is fascinatingly complex.
They sound worth exploring. Where's the best place to find quality teas?
Local tea shops often have knowledgeable staff who can guide you to new discoveries.
Conversation 61. Farmers markets.
Listen and practice.
Weekend trips to the farmers market have become a highlight of the week.
It's a great way to start the weekend. What are your usual purchases there?
Fresh vegetables and local honey are always on the list. The quality is unbeatable.
Fresh produce does taste noticeably better. Have you discovered any unusual local specialties?
There's a vendor who makes incredible homemade pickles. They've changed my whole perspective on pickles.
Artisanal foods can be eye-opening. How do the prices compare to supermarkets?
Some items are pricier, but supporting local farmers feels worthwhile.
Agreed. Plus, the opportunity to talk directly with the growers is invaluable.
Conversation 62. Organic farming.
Listen and practice.
Organic farming practices have been getting a lot of attention lately.
It's a hot topic. What sparked your interest in it?
The concerns about pesticide use in conventional farming are hard to ignore.
That's a valid worry. Does your shopping reflect these concerns?
Buying organic, especially for items like strawberries and spinach, has become a priority.
The Dirty Dozen list is a helpful guide for that. Have you looked into local organic farms?
Not yet, but that's a great idea. Are there many in our area?
Several have popped up recently. We should visit one sometime to see their methods firsthand.
Conversation 63. Urban gardening.
Listen and practice.
Urban gardening seems to be taking off in our city.
It's wonderful to see green spaces in unexpected places. Have you tried growing anything?
A small herb garden on the balcony has been surprisingly successful.
Fresh herbs can really elevate home cooking. Any plans to expand your garden?
Tomatoes are the next experiment. Any tips for container gardening?
Good drainage and regular fertilizing are key for container plants. Have you considered vertical gardening?
That could be a space-efficient solution. What plants work well for vertical setups?
Leafy greens and trailing plants like strawberries can thrive in vertical gardens.
Conversation 64. Renewable energy.
Listen and practice.
Our city is pushing for more renewable energy sources.
It's about time. Do you know what types they're focusing on?
Solar and wind seem to be the main focus. Have you considered installing solar panels?
We've thought about it. The initial cost is quite high, though.
There are some good incentives and tax breaks available now.
That's interesting. Do you know if they're effective in our climate?
Studies show they work well here, even on cloudy days.
Maybe we should look into it more seriously. It could be a good long-term investment.
Conversation 65. Personal development.
Listen and practice.
What area of personal development are you currently focusing on?
I'm working on improving my public speaking skills. How about you?
I'm trying to develop a more consistent reading habit.
That's great. How many books do you aim to read?
I'm starting with one book a month. Do you have any tips for public speaking?
Practice in front of a mirror or record yourself. It really helps.
That's a good idea. I'll give it a try.
Let me know how it goes. We could practice together sometime.
Conversation 66. Cover letter tips.
Listen and practice.
I'm struggling with writing a cover letter for a job application.
What part are you finding most difficult?
I'm not sure how to make myself stand out.
Have you tailored it specifically to the job description?
Not really. Is that important?
Absolutely. It shows you've done your research and are genuinely interested.
That makes sense. Any other tips?
Keep it concise and focus on your achievements, not just your responsibilities.
Conversation 67. First aid skills.
Listen and practice.
Knowing first aid can be crucial in emergencies.
Absolutely. Have you ever taken a first aid course?
I took one years ago, but I've forgotten a lot.
How about you?
I recently completed a refresher course. It was really valuable.
That's great. What were the most important skills you learned?
CPR, using an AED, and treating severe bleeding were the main focus. Interested in taking a course?
Definitely. Do you know where they offer them locally?
The community center has monthly classes. We could sign up for the next one together.
Conversation 68. Public speaking.
Listen and practice.
Public speaking can be so nerve-wracking.
It can be, but preparation helps a lot. Do you have any upcoming presentations?
Yes, I have to present at a conference next month.
That's exciting. Have you started preparing yet?
A little, but I'm not sure where to focus my efforts.
Start with a strong opening and conclusion. They're what people remember most.
That's helpful advice. How do you deal with nervousness?
Deep breathing exercises help me. And remember, the audience wants you to succeed.
Conversation 69. Upcycling projects.
Listen and practice.
Upcycling old furniture has become a popular hobby lately.
It's a great way to be creative and eco-friendly. Have you tried any projects?
An old ladder was transformed into a bookshelf last month. It turned out surprisingly well.
That sounds impressive. Where do you find inspiration for these projects?
Pinterest and DIY blogs are full of amazing ideas. Have you upcycled anything?
Not yet, but there's an old dresser that could use a makeover. Any tips for beginners?
Starting small and using chalk paint can make the process less daunting.
That's helpful advice. Maybe we could tackle a project together sometime.
Conversation 70. Negotiation skills.
Listen and practice.
Do you consider yourself a good negotiator?
I'm improving, but I still get nervous sometimes. How about you?
I'm okay, but I'd like to get better. Any tips?
Preparation is key. Know your bottom line before you start.
That makes sense. What about during the negotiation?
Listen actively and try to understand the other person's perspective.
Those are good points. How do you handle tough negotiators?
Stay calm and don't be afraid to take a break if things get heated.
Conversation 71. Investments.
Listen and practice.
How do you approach personal investments?
I try to maintain a diversified portfolio. What about you?
I'm just getting started. Any advice for beginners?
Start with low-cost index funds and educate yourself continuously.
That sounds like a good starting point. How do you stay informed?
I read financial news regularly and follow some finance blogs.
Any specific resources you'd recommend?
The Bogleheads Forum is great for learning about index investing.
Conversation 72. Local politics.
Listen and practice.
The upcoming local elections seem quite contentious.
They do. Are you familiar with the main issues being debated?
The proposed new zoning laws are a hot topic. What's your take on them?
It's complex. They could bring more affordable housing, but some worry about overcrowding.
That's a good point. Have you attended any town hall meetings?
Not yet, but there's one next week. Want to go together?
That's a great idea. It would be good to hear directly from the candidates.
Agreed. Local politics can have a big impact on daily life. It's important to stay informed.
Conversation 73. International relations.
Listen and practice.
International relations seem particularly tense lately.
They do. It's hard to keep up with all the developments. How do you stay informed?
I try to read news from various international sources. What about you?
I listen to global affairs podcasts during my commute. Have you found any particularly good ones?
The BBC Global News podcast is my go-to. Do you think these global issues affect us locally?
Definitely, especially in terms of trade and economy. How do you think we can make a difference?
Staying informed and voting in elections that affect foreign policy is crucial.
Good point. Maybe we could join a local group that discusses global issues.
Conversation 74. Retirement planning.
Listen and practice.
Have you started planning for retirement yet?
Yes, I've been contributing to a 401k for a few years now. You?
I haven't started yet. I feel overwhelmed by all the options.
It can be confusing. Have you considered talking to a financial advisor?
Not yet. Are they expensive?
Some offer free initial consultations. It might be worth exploring.
That's good to know. What percentage of your income do you save?
I aim for 15%, but I started smaller and increased gradually.
Conversation 75. Home organization.
Listen and practice.
A well-organized home can really reduce daily stress.
Absolutely. What area of the house do you find most challenging to keep organized?
The kitchen always seems to accumulate clutter. Any strategies for keeping it tidy?
Using clear containers and labels in the pantry has been a game changer. Have you tried any organizing apps?
Not yet, but that sounds interesting. Any recommendations?
Sortly is great for inventorying items. It even lets you add photos.
That could be useful for tracking what's in storage. Do you have a system for important documents?
A filing cabinet with color-coded folders has worked well. It makes tax season much easier.
Conversation 76. Electric vehicles.
Listen and practice.
Have you noticed more electric cars on the roads lately?
Yes, they seem to be everywhere now. Are you considering getting one?
The idea is appealing, but I'm concerned about charging options. What do you think?
Charging infrastructure is improving rapidly. Many workplaces now offer charging stations.
That's good to know. What about the driving range?
Modern EVs can go 200 to 300 miles on a single charge. How often do you take long trips?
Not very often, mostly just commuting and errands.
Then an EV could be a great fit for your lifestyle. Want to test drive one this weekend?
Conversation 77. Minimalism.
Listen and practice.
The concept of minimalism seems to be gaining traction these days.
It's an intriguing lifestyle choice. What aspects of it appeal to you?
The idea of owning less and feeling freer is attractive. Have you incorporated any minimalist practices?
Decluttering regularly has made a big difference in our home. How would you start a minimalist journey?
Beginning with one room or category like clothes could be a good starting point.
That makes sense. Have you noticed any benefits from decluttering?
The space feels calmer and it's easier to find things. It's quite liberating.
Those sound like worthwhile benefits. Maybe it's time to reassess our own belongings.
Conversation 78. LinkedIn profile.
Listen and practice.
Is your LinkedIn profile up to date?
I try to keep it current. How often do you update yours?
I update it whenever I have a new accomplishment or skill.
That's a good habit. Do you use any of LinkedIn's special features?
I've written a few articles. Have you tried that?
Not yet. Do you find it helps with networking?
Definitely. It's a great way to showcase expertise and start conversations.
I'll have to give it a try. Any tips for writing good articles?
Conversation 79. Debt reduction.
Listen and practice.
I'm trying to pay off some credit card debt. Any advice?
Have you considered the snowball or avalanche method?
I've heard of those. Which one do you think is better?
It depends on your personality. Snowball can be more motivating, but avalanche saves more money.
That makes sense. Any other strategies?
You could try negotiating with your creditors for lower interest rates.
I didn't know that was an option. Have you tried it?
Yes, it worked well for me. The worst they can say is no.
Conversation 80. Conflict resolution.
Listen and practice.
How do you typically handle conflicts at work?
I try to address issues directly but calmly. What's your approach?
I sometimes avoid confrontation. I know it's not ideal.
It can be uncomfortable. Have you tried using I statements?
Not consciously. Can you give an example?
Instead of "you're always late," try "I feel frustrated when meetings start late."
That does sound less accusatory. I'll try to remember that.
It takes practice, but it can really improve communication.
Conversation 81. Home security systems.
Listen and practice.
Home security technology has come a long way in recent years.
It has. Are you using any smart home security devices?
We have a video doorbell, but that's about it. What's your setup like?
We recently installed a full system with cameras and smart locks. Do you feel it's necessary?
It depends on the neighborhood, I suppose. Have you noticed any benefits?
Peace of mind mainly, especially when we're traveling. Have you considered expanding your system?
I've thought about it.
Are there any features you particularly recommend?
The ability to monitor and control everything from your phone is really convenient. Want to see how it works?
Conversation 82. Smartphone usage.
Listen and practice.
Smartphones have become such an integral part of daily life.
They really have. Do you think you use your phone too much?
Sometimes, especially before bed. How do you manage your screen time?
I've set app time limits and use grayscale mode in the evenings. Has that helped?
It has, but it's still a struggle sometimes. What apps do you find most distracting?
Social media is the big one for me. Have you tried any productivity apps?
A few, but I often end up ignoring them. Any recommendations?
Forest is great. It gamifies staying off your phone. Want to try it and compare results?
Conversation 83. Salary negotiation.
Listen and practice.
How do you approach salary negotiations?
I always research the industry standard beforehand. What about you?
I struggle with confidence in asking for more. Any advice?
Practice your pitch and remember your value. Have you considered other benefits?
Not really. What kind of benefits?
Things like flexible hours, extra vacation days, or professional development budgets.
Those are good points. How do you bring up salary in an interview?
I usually wait for the interviewer to mention it first, then discuss based on my research.
Conversation 84. Neighborhood watch.
Listen and practice.
Our neighborhood started a community watch program recently.
That's interesting. Have you gotten involved with it?
Not yet, but I'm curious. Do you know what it entails?
Regular meetings, keeping an eye out for suspicious activity, and reporting to local police.
Sounds like it could help improve safety. Are many neighbors participating?
Quite a few. There's a meeting next week if you want to learn more.
That would be great. Do you think it's made a difference so far?
It's early, but people seem to feel more connected and aware. Want to attend the meeting together?
Conversation 85. Productivity tools.
Listen and practice.
What's your favorite productivity tool?
I love using Trello for project management. How about you?
I've been using Notion lately. It's very versatile.
I've heard good things about Notion. Is there a learning curve?
A bit, but their tutorials are really helpful.
Do you use any tools for time tracking?
Yes, I use Rescue Time. It's eye-opening to see where your time goes.
That sounds useful. I might give it a try.
Conversation 86. Self-care.
Listen and practice.
Self-care seems to be a popular topic lately.
It's important, especially with how hectic life can get. What does self-care mean to you?
For me, it's about taking time to relax and recharge. How do you practice self-care?
I try to exercise regularly and maintain a healthy sleep schedule. Do you have a self-care routine?
I've been trying to meditate daily, but it's hard to stay consistent. Any tips?
Starting with just 5 minutes a day and using a guided app helped me. Want to try a 30-day challenge?
That sounds great. It would be nice to have some accountability.
Agreed. We could check in weekly and share what's working and what's challenging.
Conversation 87.
Composting.
Listen and practice.
Starting a compost bin has significantly reduced our household waste.
That's great for the environment. Was it difficult to set up?
The initial setup was simple, but finding the right balance took some time.
What goes into your compost bin?
Most fruit and vegetable scraps, coffee grounds, and even some paper products work well.
Interesting. Have you noticed any benefits in your garden from using compost?
The plants seem healthier, and we've needed less store-bought fertilizer.
That's a great outcome. Maybe it's time for us to start composting too.
Conversation 88. Climate change discussions.
Listen and practice.
Climate change has been in the news a lot recently.
It's a pressing issue. What do you think are the most effective ways to address it?
Individual actions are important, but policy changes seem crucial. What's your view?
I agree. Have you made any personal changes to reduce your carbon footprint?
We've been trying to eat less meat and use public transport more.
How about you?
Similar here. I've also started composting. Do you think these small actions really help?
Every little bit counts, but it can feel overwhelming sometimes.
True. Maybe we could organize a community event to share ideas and motivate others.
Conversation 89. Networking strategies.
Listen and practice.
What's your go-to networking strategy?
I try to ask open-ended questions to get conversations flowing. You?
I usually research attendees beforehand if possible.
That's smart. How do you follow up after making a new connection?
I send a personalized LinkedIn request within a day or two.
Good idea. Do you attend many networking events?
I aim for 1 or 2 a month. Quality over quantity.
That's a good balance. It's important not to burn out.
Conversation 90. Time management.
Listen and practice.
Effective time management can be such a challenge.
It really can. How do you prioritize your tasks?
I try to use the Eisenhower matrix. Are you familiar with it?
I've heard of it but never tried it. How does it work?
You categorize tasks by urgency and importance. It helps focus on what really matters.
That sounds useful. Do you use any specific tools or apps for this?
I've been using Trello. It's great for visual organization. Want me to show you how it works?
That would be helpful. Maybe we could set up a shared board for our projects.
Conversation 91. Stress relief.
Listen and practice.
Modern life can be so stressful sometimes.
It really can. How do you usually deal with stress?
I find that exercise helps a lot. What about you?
Deep breathing exercises work well for me. Have you ever tried yoga for stress relief?
A few times, but I found it hard to stick with. Do you practice regularly?
I try to do a short session every morning. It's made a big difference. Want to try a beginner's class together?
That could be fun. Do you know any good studios nearby?
There's a great place downtown that offers intro classes. Shall we sign up for next week?
Conversation 92. Digital detox.
Listen and practice.
Do you ever feel overwhelmed by constant digital connectivity?
Sometimes. It can be exhausting always being reachable. Have you tried a digital detox?
I've thought about it, but it's hard to disconnect. What does your digital detox look like?
Start small, like no phones during meals or no social media for a weekend.
That sounds doable. Have you noticed any benefits from doing this?
Definitely. Better sleep, more present in conversations. Want to try a detox challenge together?
That could be fun. How long do you think we should try for?
Let's start with a weekend and see how it goes. We can always extend it if we enjoy it.
Conversation 93. Car maintenance.
Listen and practice.
Regular car maintenance can save a lot of money in the long run.
That's true. What's your approach to keeping your car in good shape?
Sticking to the recommended service schedule has been key. Any DIY maintenance you perform?
Changing the air filter and windshield wipers are easy tasks to do at home. How about checking tire pressure?
That's a good habit to have. Any tips for keeping the car interior clean?
Keeping a small trash container and microfiber cloth in the car helps maintain tidiness.
Those are simple but effective ideas. How often do you wash your car?
A monthly wash and wax helps protect the paint and keeps it looking good.
Conversation 94.
Personal branding.
Listen and practice.
Have you thought about your personal brand?
A little, but it feels a bit intimidating. Where do you start?
Start by identifying your unique strengths and values.
That makes sense. How do you communicate your brand?
Consistently across all platforms, LinkedIn, personal website, etc.
Do you think personal branding is necessary for everyone?
It can be beneficial in most careers. It helps you stand out.
I see. I'll have to give it more thought.
Conversation 95. Decluttering tips.
Listen and practice.
Spring cleaning season always highlights how much stuff accumulates over a year.
It's amazing how quickly things pile up. Do you have a system for decluttering?
The one in, one out rule has been helpful for maintaining balance. What about you?
Creating designated spaces for everything works well. Any tips for tackling sentimental items?
Taking photos of sentimental objects before donating them can ease the process.
That's a clever idea. How do you decide what to keep and what to let go?
Asking whether an item has been used in the past year is a good starting point.
That's a practical approach. Decluttering together could be an interesting challenge for us.
Conversation 96. Goal setting.
Listen and practice.
How do you approach setting personal goals?
I try to use the SMART criteria. Are you familiar with it?
I've heard of it. It stands for specific, measurable. What are the others?
Achievable, relevant, and time-bound. It helps make goals more concrete.
That makes sense. Do you set short-term and long-term goals?
Yes, I have daily, weekly, and yearly goals. How about you?
I mainly focus on long-term goals. Maybe I should add some short-term ones.
Short-term goals can help you stay motivated and track progress.
Conversation 97. Credit score management.
Listen and practice.
Do you know your current credit score?
Yes, I check it regularly using a free online service. How about you?
I'm not sure. How often should you check it?
At least once a year, but I check mine quarterly. Have you ever disputed an error?
No, I didn't know you could do that. Is it common?
It's not uncommon. It's important to report any inaccuracies.
How do you maintain a good credit score?
Paying bills on time and keeping credit utilization low are key factors.
Conversation 98. Tax preparation.
Listen and practice.
How do you prepare for tax season?
I start gathering documents early and use tax software. What's your approach?
I usually wait until the last minute, which is stressful. Any tips to make it easier?
Keep a folder for tax documents throughout the year. Have you considered working with a tax professional?
I thought that was only for complex situations. Is it worth it?
It can be, especially if your taxes are getting more complicated.
I'll look into that.
When do you usually file your taxes?
I aim for February or March to avoid the last-minute rush.
Conversation 99. Emergency preparedness.
Listen and practice.
Recent natural disasters have me thinking about emergency preparedness.
It's important to be ready. Do you have an emergency kit at home?
We have some supplies, but probably not enough. What do you keep in yours?
Non-perishable food, water, first aid kit, flashlights, and a battery-powered radio are the basics.
That's a good list. How often do you update your supplies?
Every 6 months, we check expiration dates and replace as needed. Have you considered a family emergency plan?
We haven't, but it's a good idea. What should it include?
Meeting points, out-of-area contacts, and evacuation routes are key. Want to work on our plans together?
Conversation 100. Employee benefits.
Listen and practice.
What employee benefits do you value most?
Health insurance is my top priority. How about you?
I really appreciate companies that offer good retirement plans.
That's important too. What do you think about unlimited vacation policies?
They sound great, but I wonder if people actually use them.
It often depends on the company culture. Have you had experience with one?
No, but I'd be interested to try it. What about professional development benefits?
Those are great. I always look for companies that support continued learning.